Good afternoon, everybody, and I'd like to start today's press conference by expressing my revulsion at the shooting of Kieran Wiley in West Belfast last night, at a time when we're trying to protect ourselves from the invisible threat of COVID-19, and our emergency services are working hard to deal with people's concerns. It's particularly reprehensible that some people can callously take a person's life, and we urge anyone with any information that can help identify those responsible to assist the police with their investigation. As you know, today saw Northern Ireland taking its first tentative steps out of lockdown. Garden centres and ornamental plant nurseries opened their doors and have been able to resume trading under the terms of social distancing and public hygiene. All household recycling waste centres were accessible today, and as you will know, we also approved marriage ceremonies where one of the partners or an immediate family member is terminally ill with only a short time to live. Those were important initial steps, but the decision to allow them have been taken in line with the latest public health advice, which is determining every choice which the Executive has made. We are pleased, however, to confirm further relaxations today. Churches and other places of worship can reopen their doors for acts of individual prayer, provided they can adhere to all of the social distancing and public hygiene requirements. Over this last few weeks, in what has been a very testing time for our people, individually as well as wider society, people of all faiths have turned to prayer in their homes and have used various digital platforms to stream religious services. So the decision to open religious venues for prayer has been deemed sufficiently low risk in terms of COVID-19, but we do urge those who are availing of this service to exercise common sense. We will, of course, keep under review when would be the right time to permit religious services in places of worship where the buildings are large enough to accommodate social distancing, but we ask you all to be patient, and we will let you know once the scientific and medical advice indicates it's safe to do so. We can also confirm that drive-in religious services will be permitted, provided people remain in their cars, and that the proper social distancing and hygiene advice is followed. The arts have also provided solace and escapism during the lockdown, and we've seen some brilliant examples of the creative sector using technology to keep people entertained and to relieve the boredom. They have included the Duncairn Arts Centre wonderful virtual cabaret sessions, the Ardone Theatre's sharing of archive performances on social media of the Ulster Orchestra and their play-at-home sessions. So I really do commend those in the arts sector for taking that forward. Nevertheless, I know many of you have missed the experience of going to the theatre or to see a play, or going to the cinema, or hearing live music. So we are very pleased to be able to confirm that drive-in cinemas will be allowed to operate. Concerts and live theatre may also be facilitated, but again, all those attending have to stay in their vehicles, and everyone must adhere to social distancing and hygiene guidelines. Outdoor activity where social distancing can occur and people do not touch shared hard surfaces can also proceed. Many anglers have been delighted that DAERA has reopened its sites across the province today, and I know that golf clubs will also be relieved that players will be returning to their fairways. But the golfing authorities have made a number of recommendations for their members, and I think it is important that people take cognizance of those to ease the return to playing safely, and I'm sure everybody will abide by those. Finally, the scientific and medical advice has led us to conclude that there can be outdoor gatherings of up to 6 people from outside the same household, provided that social distancing is properly maintained. We are not, however, at the time just yet to allow people to meet other family members from other households indoors. Now, we understand that's going to disappoint some of you, but we would ask you to remain patient and trust that this Executive, informed by the most up-to-date scientific and medical advice, is in the best position to guide you when it's safe to do so. It's a matter we will constantly review, and I give you that commitment. It should be pointed out as well that the Executive has today authorised councils to act as enforcement bodies with regards to safe operation, not just of their own household waste facilities, but sites where certain types of exercise is permissible. And all of these new relaxations will come into force as soon as the regulations are introduced, and the Health Minister is just finalising the regulations and hopes to be able to lay them later on today. So the relaxations we have announced have been made possible, and on this I'll finish, by the vast majority of you faithfully following the public health advice on self-isolation, on shielding, on social distancing, and on limiting your activities in public and washing your hands thoroughly. They have been hard-won freedoms, and it is vital that when you exercise those freedoms, you do it in a way that does not put anybody else's safety at risk. And as we move through the lifting of restrictions under step 1 of our roadmap, we must proceed cautiously and adhere to public health advice. That's going to allow us to open up more freedoms in due course. But you should remember, if you're exhibiting the symptoms of coronavirus, and there's been new additions to those symptoms today, if you have a continuous cough, a fever, and the loss of sense of smell and or taste, then you need to self-isolate. And we will only be able to keep going on this roadmap to recovery if everybody's patient, if everybody respects the advice of the experts, and we continue to show discipline, because that's what's got us to where we are today, and I think we should keep going on that path. Thanks.